I ate it. I'm not supposed to have sugar. That's really bad for me. And I'm certainly not supposed to have flour. I just bloat right up. It's always interesting to drive. I really enjoy the process. I enjoy the sort of dance from cars. And then it amalgamated with all of the local surrounding towns farther out, and it became 600,000. Now it's 1 million. It's quite interesting since people are not having as many children as they used to have. Guess people leave the countryside and move to town. And I guess Ottawa is quite a technology hub. A lot of people go there for the technology jobs. Willem used to commute to Ottawa. I'm so grateful for prayer. I've had trials lately, and it's so nice to be able to focus on the Savior, to take my mind off of mulling about the situation. There's nothing to be accomplished. We are going to Montreal, Quebec. We're in Ontario. We're on the west side of Ottawa, on Highway 417 going into Ottawa at 6 in the morning. This is how much traffic is already here. It's what you would expect in Atlanta or New York guess it must have risen about 5:15. I'm not sure. It's a 4-hour drive. But from here it's about, I don't know, I think Montreal is 2 hours from Ottawa. But we're quite on this side of Ottawa. They've extended the 17 so it reaches to Carleton Place, and then it's Highway 7. Highway 7 used to be the Quebec Canada highway. But now I think it's changed to a different highway. But if you see the road signs, there's a picture of a crown with the highway number in it. And it says the King's Highway. Yes, Willem is with me. He's fast asleep. No, my channel has been obscure for a long time. But it seems to be appearing now. From Dallas to Galveston Island, It's 4 hours. We try and go to the temple as often as we can. Yes, the signal should be pretty good from here on until there's a dark spot between Ottawa and Montreal where the moose crossing signs are. It didn't freeze for me. That's interesting that it froze for you. To know that we're both still around. Big guy, I have to get out of my way. Thank you very much. I've been having some good days lately. I've been trying to accomplish a lot. I babysit the children. The Sacred Grove. That's a very special place. Yes, that was 7 years. We worked in the temple for 7 years. First we worked in the Palmyra temple, and then we found that we were supposed to be in the Toronto temple district, so we were released from working there, and we started working in Toronto. And we worked there until the pandemic. And we were still workers. And I don't know if we ever actually got released.
Yes, we did.
Oh, we did get released. We went on a mission, a service mission. And we worked there for, I don't think we worked quite 6 months. We had to leave our mission. We had family issues that we needed to take care of. Yes, there were wonderful things happened in the Sacred Grove. It's really worth looking up and finding more out about it. It was the beginning of the restoration of the Gospel of so grateful for so many things, you know. I really enjoy praying on here. It helps me stay focused, and it helps me think of others and what their situations are, and praying for them. There's so much going on in the world, everywhere in the world. It seems like the earth is in commotion. So many volcanoes happening. There's this really nice girl. Her name is Silky, and the name of her channel is On the Pulse with Silky. And she's been covering the volcanoes in Iceland and the volcanoes in Italy. I really like this hub lane. We're the only one in it. Oh no, there's people way ahead. The speed limit here is 120. Well, that's the accepted speed limit. The posted speed limit is 100. Yes, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's a wonderful time to be a member, because the prophet is so on top of what's going on the earth, and he doesn't talk about anything political. The church is absolutely not political, but we are counseled to obey the commandments and to honor our covenants that we make in the temples, and that we'll have the ability to feel the Holy Spirit, and it will help us to avoid following after things that are not true. There's so many things that are misrepresented and lied about these days. It's so interesting to watch. It scares me that people follow lies. But, you know, it's the last days, and people wake up and figure it out. Anyway. So you've been following those Iceland and Hawaii volcanoes too. That was very interesting when... What is that one in Hawaii called? Kilauea. I forget. Anyway, I watched that all the time when it was on, when it was happening, and now there's these volcanoes. There's one beside Naples, which is rumbling a lot and doing a lot of earthquakes. And also, I think Mount St. Helens is waking up again. And then there's one on an island off of the coast of Italy. It starts with an S. And Mount Etna. Kilauea. Yeah. That was it. Isn't the sky beautiful? The temperature has gone down. It's only 17 Celsius. 20 is room temperature. It's been 30 lately. So nice to have it cool. To be able to open the doors and windows and have cool air. I guess you don't have that in Texas. Oh, I wouldn't trade and be in Texas, but the people down there are very nice. We were in Hawaii. My son, he took us down to Hawaii, took me down with his family to Hawaii last year or the year before, and I guess it was last year, Christmas time, and it was quite interesting to, we were driving along, it was near Lahaina, which is the town that burned down, where I bought all these dresses from. I'm glad I bought them so they didn't burn up. Anyway, I past Lahania, you go on to the other half of the island, and as we were driving along, it looked like there was construction going on. There was all these piles of dirt. And it was puzzling to us because you couldn't see that anything had been built, or you couldn't see where any truck had gotten in and out to pile all these piles of dirt.
Good morning, Nancy.
Oh, you're awake. Why are you waking him up? Am I disturbing you?
No, I'm fine. What's the gas situation?
We have 3 bars. We'll get gas when we get through Ottawa. So it's 38 down there. Oh my gosh. Can't imagine cooking. It was 44 last year in August. Oh my gosh. August is when it gets cooler here. We get the big heat in July. But of course things have all changed, so who knows what it'll be this year. Did you have a good sleep, Willem?
Yeah, pretty good.
But it's only 6:30. You couldn't possibly be done sleeping.
I might use it again.
I love you, dear. Happy birthday.
Thank you, darling.
So what does it feel like to be 75?
No different.
No different than what?
74 and a half.
Does it feel different than 70?
Not really.
Feel different than 60?
Yeah, I suppose. Body is kind of a little uncooperative sometimes.
I'm still 68. Soon to be 69, but I'm only going to be 69 for 1 year. I chose to be 68 for 1 year. It's been pretty good. I was losing my body. I had been sitting too much, and lately I've been gaining it back. I've been going for walks. I go down to the moat every day and walk around it and put cat food. Oh, please be safe, fella. In Georgia, they call motorcyclists kidney donors. Wow, 46 in Southwest Texas. I suppose you had air conditioning or went to somewhere cool. Must be quite a shock to go outside when it's that hot. I think it did get up to 40. Isn't that 100, Willem?
100 is 37.
37. That was... I'm grateful that we live in Canada. So when it gets hot, at least it's not going to kill us.
Well, you know, things can get close. Remember in... And one day, the hottest day.
And then the next day it burst into flames and the whole town burned to the ground.
Yeah. They figured it was a spark from the railroad.
What did you say?
They figured it was a spark from the railroad.
Oh, yes.
Train movement.
Sleeping during the day when it's so hot is a really good good idea. I was thinking about that the other day. How people in Mexico take siestas in the middle of the day, and in Saudi Arabia, where my daughter-in-law grew up, the stores don't open during the daytime. They open at night. I love the night sky as well. I've gotten older now, and it's harder to stay awake late at night. But I do enjoy all that. I guess I don't need my sunglasses now. Ah yes, a telescope. My son talked about putting a telescope at our house once. That would have been fun. There are these places nearby that are called dark sky preserves in North Frontenac, where there's no towns for so far away that you can really see the dark sky at night. And we have millions and billions of stars in the sky at night. Are you kidding? Ants melt in New Mexico? It's 120 degrees there in the summer. Wow. My dad took us across the United States years ago. We went to California, and so we drove through Death Valley. That was quite courageous of him to do that with his family in tow. They had this leather bag, a leather water bag. I don't know where he got it back then, but as the water would sweat on the bag, and the driving would cool the bag, and so there was cold water in the bag. But of course, when you have to stop to get it off of your hanging from the mirror, or maybe you could reach out and take it in, I don't know. Oh yes, here we go. People cook their eggs on their cars for fun. Death Valley had a massive rainstorm that destroyed all the roads. Can you imagine? Wow. I remember the shifting sands. I remember waking up one morning. We must have camped along the way. We camped the whole trip. Oh my goodness, look at that guy. When it can't suck up the water, that's, what is that called? Hydrophobic. Our hill is hydrophobic. It's sand, and it's so the water beads up on the top of it and rolls off. It gets covered with a little the dust will cover the bead of water. I remember being in Arizona and in other parts west where there were flash floods. It never rained when I lived in Phoenix. I was only there for 6 months, I think, but okay, now we leave Ottawa and we head toward Montreal. get flash freeze blizzards, hurricanes, tornadoes, and 3.0 earthquakes. That's amazing. That's a lot going on. We had an earthquake here once. It was somewhere along the border between Ontario and Quebec. So I always refer to it as the day that Quebec tried to separate. It was interesting. I was in the house and my chair started to shake a bit. And so I looked up and saw the plants that were, the leaves on the plants were moving. I went outside and again saw it. It must have shaken for a few seconds to be able to be sitting in the chair and have time to get up. Of course, back then it didn't take as long to get up. Nose over toes. That's the key to getting out of a chair. You lean forward until your nose is over your toes. And then you can have the momentum to get out of the chair without having to use your wrists to completely push yourself up. Pushing yourself straight up isn't a good idea. It ruins your wrists. Okay then. That's the last main intersection of Ottawa. I've never heard of the Alexander technique for posture. I watch these little YouTube shorts, I guess we all do, and except Willem. Hey Willem! What?
What's your question?
Do you watch YouTube shorts?
Occasionally.
Oh, you do? They're very addicting because you watch it and think, what is this one? And you wait. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, but they're more good than not good, so it keeps you wanting to watch the next one. I've learned from watching these shorts that people in China slap each other a lot and bite each other. I had no idea. Like, that's all become quite illegal here in Canada. And in a family, if a person hits another member of the family, it's, you know, it's abuse. Okay, all you cars. Well, I guess I'm going the speed limit now, so I can stay here. 120. There's a Quebec vehicle. Thanks for being on here, Jam and Jelly. I like talking to somebody. And you're right, and so you're very interesting. You know, it's so, I have an Apple iPod or Apple, whatever it is called, my iPhone. And I never thought I would have one, right? They were very expensive. I had no idea that one day I would have one and be rather dependent on it. It's quite cool. But it has this little microphone beside the keyboard, and you can tap that microphone and then you don't have to type. And I just love that. I like being able to dictate. Yesterday I went to was able to record what the doctor was saying, because I forget and I don't write fast enough. Yes, dictation is weird, but even typing is weird. When you type, it changes. I appreciate spell check or what, it's not, but anyway, it changes the meaning of things sometimes. And I usually post, and then I read what I posted, which is the wrong way to do it. I should read it and then post, because I often have to edit, because they changed a word that means the opposite of what I'm trying to say. Look at this nice cloud. You know, that sun was going to be right in our faces the whole drive. But I don't even need to wear my sunglasses. I was at the lake the other day, and I noticed the bulrushes sticking up out of the water. And it made me think I should go and harvest bulrushes again. Do some more baskets out of them. You really need to use a willow frame to make a cattail or a bulrush basket. Rushes are so fragile when they get dry. A lot of are made of rushes. And I haven't harvested any cattails this year either. I really enjoy cattails. There's so much that you can do with them. Basket making is a wonderful pastime. I planted willow, which are really growing well, and I have to cut them every year, or else they become trees. I like using them when they're fresh. I'd rather do that than use them when they're dry. Bushes are not cattails. Cattails are alongside the road here. And the real tall stuff is Phragmites. I've been working on measuring my warp for my loom. I have a big warping mill, and it turns in a circle, and it's a meter or a yard between each corner. So I spin it around, and then the thread, I hold the thread and I wind it on, and I have a cross at the end at the top and a cross at the end at the bottom, and I go around it four times, so that makes 16 meters. I like having a nice long warp. I'd like to make a whole lot of tea towels this time. That's an interesting Toyota. Look, it's a green vehicle. This is coming out very, very very blurry on my camera. I can barely see the traffic. Might as well turn it around. Hello. Gotta do my hair. At 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm not really worried about doing my hair. There we are. Hello, hello. I have this thing that connects it to the dash, which is nice, finally nice. I had to scoot it so I could see out. Yeah, I usually do my hair when I drive. I just run my hands through it. To get all the unkempt hair out. Okay, so remind me, are you awake, Willem, or are you sleeping? Are you sort of awake or sort of asleep?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he says. So I'll look for a gas station. We have 2 bars left.
Oh, okay. I got to get the gas.
I'll watch for signs.
Okay, well, then you don't need me then.
No, I
Look for
don't.
signs, then you go after them.
I'll go after them. I'll pay attention now. Dear Heavenly Father, help me to find gas station before we run out of gas or get too loud. That makes Willem worry. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Thanks. No, I don't eat lasagna. It's got cheese in it, which causes my joints to hurt and all my bones to just hurt. And it's also full of wheat, which I also can't eat. That's where we go to get a
Yes.
gas. Oh yeah, you can use your app on your phone to find gas. Well, it'll be on the road. The signs will tell us when it comes up. There's no exits on the highway, except most of them are just small roads, and there's not gas stations at every road like in the United States. It can go a long way where there's no gas, but on these highways, is this the one? Is this 79?
Yeah.
Limoges. Looks like the reception here is pretty bad. So which way is gas?
Strange, eh? I don't see anything that goes by there. Maybe you go over
Well,
there.
all the traffic is coming from this direction, so
Let's try it.
I think I'll go this way. Well, I don't know about gas on this route, Willem. I think this isn't gonna work.
Okay, well, we should turn around then. Try the other side of the highway.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I saw a pump on the sign there.
Oh, there's a gas station up ahead. Okay. $1.64 per liter. Well, and this is $1.63 on this side.
Already done?
Okay then.
My duty.
Okay. So, Jam and Jelly, what did you mean when you said you would link it to a friend?
Yes, just further up. Oh, Nancy, can you
We
open
have
it?
help. Well, that's very nice.
Oh. Oh.
So, how is everybody? Is everybody enjoying your day? Enjoying your early morning? Watching while you can't sleep? Oh, I have to turn it off, don't I? Are you gonna go to the washroom, Willem?
I don't have to.
Okay then. Can use the camera for a mirror. There we go. My hair hair is really getting long. Never been this long. I'm trying to use this shampoo. What was the name of that shampoo you said? It's in French. Do you remember the name of it?
SMA, I think it was called.
Tresemme.
It'll be 63. I'll be right back.
There. Hello, Willem.
Here.
Well, that's cool. We didn't have to get up and go inside or get out or anything. Very cool. There, now you can close your door. I'm not comfortable with people taking our credit card away.
Debit. He's going to go back with it.
Just like in other countries where they take your passport away. I don't like that either.
There you go, my friend.
Alrighty, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay then, on the road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again. So I've been playing my violin lately, which I have really been enjoying. I've been trying to learn all the songs in the hymn book. All the ones that I like enough to want to play, which is quite a few. So it's almost 7 o'clock. People are commuting. The road is getting full. Day. It's only, what is it, 18 degrees and sunny. Oh, it's a good day for working in the bush. I was trying to remember what songs Carly Simon used to sing. And so I was watching on YouTube, and they were at some place along the water, might have been Florida, and the breeze was blowing their clothes, and they were happy and dancing, and she was singing "You're So Vain." She was on the piano, "You're so vain," and everybody was so happy, and it just made me want to be part of that. It was really nice. Carly Simon, "You're So Vain." I was trying to remember the words and remember the verses. I know the chorus. And so I was picking it out. I'm really, I've been playing now since I was 52. So that's 62, 68. So it's 16 years I've been playing the violin. And some years I didn't play very much, but other years I play more. And I really enjoy playing. And I'm getting much better at it. I'm able to figure out, my fingers figure out where the next note is when I have to jump a note. I could never play by ear before, never. But be doing this, I didn't start playing by ear right away. I was playing with music, though with sheet music, but it didn't work very well. Montreal is that way. I'm going to readjust this this camera so I can see it better. So, turn this thing here. And I can put it on here. And then if you happen to say something, it'll pop up and I can read it quickly. But sometimes I can't read it if the traffic is making trouble for us. Okay, here we go. On the road again. So I've been making, it's amazing. What's going on there now? Hold on. Let's fix this part here. Okay. All right, there we go. No, it's not working. All right, maybe that's not going to work there. And that's not going to work there either. It was working on here before. I'll put you over here, and then I'll fix this thing here. Okay. That's going to be a little too high there. Not get in the way of my vision. Okay. That'll do. Okay. You okay? You go back to sleep now? I'm trying to remember all the songs that I know. There's a lot of songs that we know. We know songs from our childhood, all the songs we sang to our children when they were little, all the songs from church, the hymns that we like. There's folk songs that we learned at camp. There's songs that were on the radio when we were growing up that we learned the words to. There's so many songs. I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds of songs we each know. But I'm trying to make a list of them and learn them. I was going to bring my violin today and sit and play "Oh How Lovely Was the Morning" by the view of the temple when we get there. I see a lot of dust blowing when I do that. Must have dusty hair. All flat out the window. You know, if you open the window right beside you, you can get rid of all the loose hair and all the bad smells. Everything just goes out the window. And it doesn't affect the rest of the car too much. The other passenger, the person in the passenger seat gets a lot of breeze. But if you really want a nice breeze, if you open the back window opposite, so you're making it diagonal in the car. There, I think I got rid of all the dust. So we're going to Montreal, to the temple. Montreal Temple, where we learn more about Jesus Christ and Him crucified and paying for our sins. It's such a blessing to be able to go there. It's so peaceful. I didn't realize how peaceful it was until there was some commotion in my life at home. And that commotion really took away the feeling of peace. And then I prayed, and I remembered that wonderful, peaceful feeling. And I tried to go back to it. I'm glad that we're prioritizing going to the temple every week, even though it's a 4-hour drive or something similar. It's so good. It helps us cope with everything else. When you're in the temple, you just naturally feel like praying. This humidity is really messing with my body. I never had that before. 68. I've had arthritis for years, but I guess the time has come for me to experience this. My thumb catches. When I try and bend it, it catches. I hope it doesn't get really big and swollen. My mother had big swollen knuckles. 2 people and no thumbs ups, remember to do that. It makes a difference, I guess. That's what they all say. If you subscribe and share and do a thumbs up and comment, then it makes these videos visible. Otherwise, they get lost. But they're getting more visible now. They're even popping up on my feed, which they never did before. There's so many topics that will come up on different people's feeds according to what they watch. So, lately, one of my goals is to get in shape, to lose weight, and to keep moving. So I've been trying to go for walks every morning. I go down and around the moat, the 4 ponds. I go around and I feed the fish cat food, and there's a huge turtle, which is the reason why there's no fish on one side of the moat. And sometimes I also will go walk down the highway to the cement bridge and sit there and then come back. But sometimes I don't have enough time. I'm trying to clean brush out of the forest. So if and when we have a drought and lots of heat, which it doesn't appear to have this year, we seem to be having a ton of rain, but not as much as some people. Boy, in Toronto, they really got flooded the other day. I'm not sure where, but the Don River is right alongside I guess it's the Don Valley Expressway. And is it along the Don Valley Expressway or the Gardner Expressway? Well,
Don't know.
anyway, so it flooded, and it flooded over the highway, and it flooded in neighborhoods. Toronto is on Lake Ontario, so it's quite low. Prime agricultural land, actually. Get tired when the sun rises. If you've been up since before the sun rises, when it rises, then you start feeling sleepy. Could one of you comment so I have something to talk about? So anyway, my goals are to move more. And yesterday it was cooled off a bit, so I was able to sit outside. And the mosquitoes usually drive me in the house, but I remembered to use incense sticks, which I stick them in between the wood of the deck flooring. And there's so much stuff that's gotten in there that it's, it'll hold it. Sometimes I use a pressure washer and try and get it all out of there. Other times I don't. So what's up in your life today? One thing I'm trying to do is to pay attention to the promptings of the Holy Spirit and let Him guide me with what to do, and when I'm shopping, what to buy, what not to buy. Moose Creek is the name of a town coming up. I like playing Minecraft sometimes. My grandchildren were playing, and I realized that I could connect to them through the LAN, which is Local Area Network. So they had made a game. It was a dragons thing. You had to build a house enough for the dragon to be in, and then you had to grow some wheat and give the wheat to the dragon when it woke up or when it hatched. But I never got that far. The kids went off of the game, which turned off the LAN. So I couldn't play with them anymore. But when I play Minecraft, I sit, and I don't like sitting much. Because when I sit, I often eat. I don't want to eat. I asked my doctor about Ozempic, and there's another one, which is similar, and she said it's been linked to eye problems. I don't want eye problems. I like my eyes. They work absolutely perfectly, except I'm going to have glaucoma. I've got 3 markers for glaucoma. So I'll need to put drops in my eyes every day. One day, not yet. Willem has just started at 75. So I may have 6 more years before I have to do that. You know, all this talk about Biden being old, it's a whole load of crap. Because when you're old, you're on top of things. I mean, until you're senile. But he shows no signs of being senile. He is a bit stiff. But our bodies do stuff like that. But that's not going to affect his mind. But he's so on top of stuff, you know, like NATO, and he knows, you know, you have this amazing amount of knowledge that you've acquired from experience. He's 80, and so he's been through many situations with many countries. He's seen, I mean, he told Israel not to make the same mistake that they made in Afghanistan. You know, so he's acknowledging the mistakes of the past, and he knows the consequences of stuff like that. He's seen it all. He's been there. But people that are young, people that are 40, they're smart. They know stuff, but they don't have experience. They haven't lived through a whole lot of things. They've lived through some stuff. But when you're old enough that you don't have to read history, remember it. It really helps. This ageism thing that's going on, I never realized before. But you know, I used to walk into a room at church, and when the meeting wasn't going on, I would look around, and if there might, but I thought, you know, nobody's there. Well, none of the people that I am used to talking to were there. And especially old people. When you see old people, you just ignore them because they live in a different world than you do. They don't work, they don't go for, they don't exercise as the way that you would have done, or they don't mountain climb, or some do, of course. But a lot of people have physical ailments that, you know, they need new hips or new knees or new shoulders. A lot of problems like that happen. But old people are wise. I used to really enjoy being around people that were older than me because they seemed to be a lot smarter. They seemed to know a lot more about life. They weren't as bogged down in stuff. There we go. See the road? So we're headed to the temple in Montreal. It's about a 4-hour drive. We're about 2 hours into it or so. I like having some extra time. Try and leave half an hour early so that we can get there in time to not have to rush. There's been construction on this road for a while. I'm so grateful to have the day off today to be able to do this. Scarlett's got the kids today. She's got rabbits, and they love rabbits. This will be fun for them to go there. That was on account of the mosquito. I've been trying to use Facebook lately to connect with people I know. But then I join these groups, like one of them is the Grammar Police, and another one is Hippies, something like that. Another one is 50s and 60s. And another one is crabby grandmothers or crabby grannies or something. And those things have so many posts. Those are the ones that are popping up all the time, and I'm not seeing my friends' posts anymore. But you know what I did? I friended all the missionaries. Every time you get these, do you know this person or whatever, friend request things to send out. And if they've got a black tag on that says the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and then elder something or other, or sister, I friend them, and every day they post beautiful scriptures, and if I read those scriptures and ponder them, that's scripture reading, and I'm reading my scriptures when I'm reading their posts, and often they're really good things that I can share. I end up sharing a lot of that stuff. Those white flowers along the road are sweet clover, and the tall ones behind them are wild parsnips. There's a lot of water hemlock along here that I discovered last week. How's your sleeping going, Willem?
Well, not really sleeping.
Am I interrupting you too much? Would it be better if I be quiet?
I'm not sure.
Perhaps I should try it. It's not 80 anymore. Oh, it looks like construction in 1 kilometer. So this is what driving in Canada is like. Miles of beautiful scenery. So let me tell you about my weaving. I'm working on getting my loom ready to weave tea towels, dish towels. I'm using doing blue, dark blue, and white, and purple. And I'm winding it the warp, so I wound some last year. I mean, goodness, how long is it going to take me? But I wound some, and after I had done it, I wrote it all down, you know, so many blue, so many white, so many blue, so many white, so many purple, so many white. And I did that, and I'm so glad I wrote it all down because I didn't have to figure it out again. And so I did it the opposite for the other side, so I can come in from both sides of the loom. And then I started doing a chunk of purple and a whole lot of white. And so I've pretty much filled up my warping mill now. I have to tie them together and take them off and make a braid. But the first bunch I did, it was only 12 feet long, but I didn't write that down. So this, I went around an extra loop this time, extra round around the mill, which is a meter each side, so 4 meters longer. So this is 16 meters. It's actually probably more like 17 because of the cross at the top and at the bottom. It's where I have a screw and I go over and under and then back. And it's the end at the top and the same at the bottom. I go over and under and back and under and over. So it's under, over, under, and the other one is over, under, over. So it makes and so you tie it off in the middle there around the middle screw. You go in and out the other side, so you've tied off the cross. And that will keep everything in order because of the cross, you know which string lines up next, which is the next one. They're not just a whole clump of them. So all of your colors are in order. Anyway, so I'm now at the point where I've got this huge chunk of white. So it's just a matter of counting how many, adding it all up and counting it against the number of heddles or the number of slots on the reed. And then I can add enough white with another chunk of purple. I think it was something like 10 purple and then all that white. So we'll see how far it takes to fill the lumen with the white, and then I'll add the 10 purple at the end, and that'll be the middle or the end of the center section will be purple, white, and purple. I've never measured colors before. I've added them in, but I've never worried about numbering them and how many there are. I'm trying to up my game. I'm trying to make a better quality thing. And I think I will, I kind of want to do overshot. My pattern, which means you've got the tabby between each pattern. So the pattern is every other one goes up and you put your yarn through, and then every other one goes down and you put your yarn through. So you go up and then you do one pattern line, and then you go down and then you do one. So the up is tabby and the down is the tabby, and then the other ones with the pattern, I mean, they go up and down too, but only some of them go up and some go down. So I had one that was called, was it Priscilla? No, it was Periwinkle. Overshot. It's in the Davison book. Great big green Davison book of patterns. about doing this for a while, this overshot. I really like just doing bird's eye. I've tried many patterns. Prussian diaper was one. I went through the book and I tried to do all sorts of them. And when you put when you thread the reed, you can, and you get the pattern, you can then, this is thick cement. They have to remove the chunks of cement to fix them. It's a lot more work, I think, than removing the pavement or the asphalt. Blacktop, they call it. Anyway, often if you put on a pattern like bird's eye or rose path, you can make like 15 different patterns from that pattern. So depending on which petals, the order of the petals that you push down, you have 6 petals generally. Some looms have 8, but mostly it's 6 petals. Smaller looms may have only 4. So when you want to switch from one pattern to another, you just look and see what is the petaling. Usually the petals are connected up together so that when you push petal 1, you get every other string. When you push petal 2, you get the opposite every other string. And petal 3 will be a combination of maybe petal 1 and 3, and the next one will be 2 and 1 and 3, 1 and 4, 2 and 3, 2 and 4, or maybe just 1 and 2 are on their own. So the next are 2 and 3, 2 and 4. No, not 2. Leave the 2s out. 1s and 2s are on their own. 3 and 4, 3 and 5, 4 and 5, 4 and 6, and 3 and 6. I don't know. It's somehow so that they're all figured out. But if there's only 6 petals, I don't remember. But that's with, you don't have to have a tabby. Unless you're doing overshot. Overshot is one they use for bedspreads sometimes, and for table runners. It's a very complicated design. But you know, when you use your tea towels, you can use them up. You can wear them out. Use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. That's a good thing to remember. Hello, Diagnose, or Dino Goose. Hello. So, how watched a travel video in Norway. I was quite surprised at all the fjords, how close to the ocean they always were. Of course, they were taking a road that went around the outside. I think they were in a camper or something. Lace, the white stuff now. I watched a YouTube video about somebody, Christy something. Christy, but it wasn't the same thing. She had put together the best music of each year of the 60s. So 66 and 65. Anyway, I was watching the one from 66, and I was very surprised at how many different bands there were that put out really good music. Bands that are not really famous at all. I mean, you've heard of the Beatles and the Bee Gees and the Supremes, the Temptations and the Mamas and the Papas. But there's all these other ones that are quite few songs they played, but they would have a hit, obviously. Bobby Gentry, somebody in Bobby Gentry, I forget who they were. Didn't Bobby Gentry do the one about the Tallahassee Bridge? Certainly making this camera jump around, isn't it? There you go. See out the window here a bit. Songs that I know the words to, songs that I miss. I didn't know that the Sloop John B was a song from the 60s. I always thought it was an old folk song. We had to play that when I was learning how to play the guitar when I was young. My parents put me in lessons. I took ballet when I was really little. And then I took piano when I was a teenager. We had to walk up the hill to Jershevsky's house. And I had this horrible book. It was no good. The Albert series is so much better. I think it's Alfred. Alfred music is so good. It's so simple. And what was the other thing? I learned archery at Girl Scout camp. And we were in horseback riding lessons when we were young, and swimming lessons. Got us a membership for the Elks Club. I don't know if they dropped us off or if I drove myself, but became a famous movie star. Not Bazemore. Anyway, she was there at the pool. She started making commercials for Breck shampoo. She had beautiful long hair. It was kind of blonde. She was in Batman in the movie. Anyway, the Elks Club. So we would go there from morning till night. We would maybe my mom dropped us off on her way to work, and we would spend the summers all day sunbathing and swimming. That's all we did. We'd lie there in the sun, sunbathe. We'd turn over every 30 minutes. They would say on the radio, "It's turnover time." There was two radio stations. Listening to the radio is always kind of interesting. I like listening to the radio in the car. I find that it puts you in touch with what's going on locally. You know, what people feel about things that are going on. You know, different things, you know, whether it's something like needing more homes, more housing, or the interest rates, or the homeless shelters, or the dealing with the heat. Just, you know, different local things that are happening. There's usually music concerts in the summer, music festivals, which are really nice. It's nice to go to them, but I never do. I have other things to do. You know, lately I've been going down to Brockville, which is on the St. Lawrence River, and hanging out there with the missionaries, and visiting with them and talking about spiritual things. And then after our hour-long visit, they have to get on with doing their work. And I sit by the river and I watch the ships go by. And they're big. Sometimes there's big Lakers, ocean liners. We call them Lakers when they're in the Great Lakes, and then the St. Lawrence. I guess it starts at the Sea of... Does it empty into the Sea of Labrador? I guess it does. I don't know. Or it comes from Lake Ontario. Lake Ontario is like an ocean. It's really big. An ocean with very small waves. But it has waves. There's a bit of waves. Deer crossing sign, night danger, but there's no moose crossing sign here. Usually the deer and the moose don't live in the same area. The bears live everywhere, but not the deer have a bacteria that the moose will catch, and so it will kill the moose. So usually you have deer and then you have moose, but the overlapping area, I guess it'll kill out the moose. But they reintroduced elk quite a few years ago now. There were very few elk, but they reintroduced, I think, maybe 70 of them north of us, up in the boonies. But I've never seen a wild elk or seen signs for elk crossing. I've seen signs for bear crossing. But not as often as deer crossing, because of course I'm usually near home. But sometimes when we go for a drive, it's nice to go for a drive sometimes, just to get out of the house and see what there is to see. You can always stop at chair and relax, play the violin. I love doing that. Trying to remember these songs is quite difficult sometimes. Like the one with Someone's in the Kitchen with Dinah. It actually starts with, I've been working on the railroad. I couldn't remember that part of it. I could only remember the second part. But yesterday I remembered it all. There's one song that I've been trying to memorize. Oh, this is Quebec now. There's one song I've been trying to memorize. It's well, I don't remember the name. Oh, beams are others' mercy. Daily beams our Father's mercy from His lighthouse evermore. But to us He gives the keeping of the lights along the shore. Let the lower lights be burning, cast away upon cross, cast a beam across the way. Some poor fainting, struggling seaman, you may rescue, you may save. Now comes the verses. Dark the night, love has settled. Loud the angry billows roar. Eager eyes are watching, longing for the lights along the shore. I forget the next two verses. I'll have to find the words and sing them all the way home from Montreal today. Willem usually drives on the way home, but I'm not sure how much sleep he's actually getting. Oh, his eyes are closed, so he's okay. I can turn my mirror and check. So I'm picking all these songs out on the violin and trying to learn the notes, go over the parts that are difficult, parts that I don't know very well, or keep finding the wrong notes, hitting the wrong notes. And I'm getting better, finally, after 16 years. I can play a lot of songs. I took Daniel and Anna to the lake the other day and they went canoeing. They caught a big fish, and while they were doing that, I sat on the back of my car. It has a really, this is a Toyota Corolla that I sat on. It's got a really nice square back, and you can put your feet on the bumper and sit on the back trunk. And it's not sloped. It's perfect. So I sat there and played my violin, and they were out for about an hour. And in that time, I played all the old campfire songs that I know. I had a list. And that was interesting that it took an hour to go through all those. And yesterday, I was sitting on the porch and I played for about an hour and a half. And I played a whole bunch of hymns and a whole bunch of soundtracks, musicals from Mary Poppins and My Fair Lady. There's a lot of songs in those. Anyway, it feels, what I would like to do one day, I have a goal that one day I would like to be able to play in a pub or somewhere. Play in public. Maybe not a pub. I don't know where I would play. But I would like to be able to just be good enough that people could listen to me. I think I'm getting better. I think I'm getting pretty good on a lot of songs. They're I don't hit wrong notes with many of those songs. But I still can't, you're supposed to wiggle your hand while you play. That's beyond me. I don't know how to do that. I guess I should watch videos on it. How to learn that. But it's really nice to listen to all these tunes while I play them. Especially hymns that I know the words to, because I sing along in my head. I don't sing along out loud. I sing along in my head. So I need to replace one of my cars. The Toyota Corolla. I'd kind of like to get an electric vehicle, but I can't afford one. They're still way too expensive for me. I never buy new cars. And the thing about an electric car is that if the batteries die, then you've got to replace them, and it can cost $20,000 to replace just the batteries. That's a lot of money. That's a lot more than I ever want to spend on a car, either to own it or to anything. And it takes a long time to get your money back. They say $1,000 a year, or maybe $1,500 a year on gas you'll save. When you think about it, that's really not a lot. But the environment is very important. The more of us that can do things that don't cause carbon, the less of these heat waves and all this stuff that we'll have to deal with. I know it's going to be in the latter days, and these are the latter days, but I think we can make it worse on ourselves and our children, and we can improve it. It's still going to happen to some degree, but we can really mitigate it. We don't have to heat the earth up by ourselves. But I guess the Lord knew that this was what we were going to want to do. Because I still want to drive where I want to go. I'm going to go to Montreal every week if I possibly can. Which is a lot of emissions. But I don't take airplanes. I take airplanes when I'm invited. Yes, I do. But I don't plan trips that are far away that I have to take airplanes. If you ever look at that app with airplanes overhead, you'll see that North America is so totally covered with yellow. All those yellow airplanes that are pictured on it. It's a lot. And we don't need to do that. We're in the habit of doing that, of living far away from one another and moving far away where the jobs are, I have a friend who's 80 or 90. She said, do it while you're young. Do everything you want to do. What do I want to do? I think I'd like to go back and visit some islands. I think I'd like to go to islands I haven't been to, like the Caribbean islands. Antigua and Barbados, and Barbados is in the Caribbean, Haiti and Dominican Republic. I think I'd like to do those things. But I also believe that in the next life that we will be on the earth and we will have all kinds of opportunities that we don't have now. And so we can certainly be able to explore in the next life. I used to think about the mansion, Heavenly Father said, I have gone to prepare a place for you. If it were not so, I would have told you. And He's not a liar. There's no way that God can lie. Light and dark are completely separate, and opposite, and lies are of the darkness. The truth is not dark. And he said, many mansions I have in my Father's house, and I go to prepare a place for you. Is it in my Father's house? In my Father's house there are many mansions. I go to prepare a place for you. If it were not so, I would have told you. Well, there was a near-death experience of someone, and they came back and said that there were houses of all types. There were houses without roofs, so that they could be houses in the trees and amongst the birds. That's what I would like. I'd like to live in a tree house. Let's listen to the news. So we can get the news.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. Tonight's the last night of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. It will conclude after Donald Trump accepts the party's nomination for president. He's expected to make remarks, and his campaign says he has rewritten his speech after last weekend's attempt on his life. GOP vice presidential candidate Ohio Senator J.D. Vance accepted his nomination last night. NPR's Franco Ordonez says tonight Trump may echo some of the themes of unity that Vance discussed.
They've told us to expect, a similar message that we have been hearing all week. They do acknowledge that unity will be part of the unity framed in as America first.
NPR's Franco Ordonez reporting. Officials in western Pennsylvania are speaking out about the attempted assassination of Trump. NPR's Claudia Crisalos reports several officials have been asked to testify on Capitol Hill.
Officials in Butler County, Pennsylvania, who have been defending their officers, have been called to appear before the House Homeland Security Committee. One of those officials, Butler County Sheriff Michael Sloop, told NPR his deputies went above and beyond before and after the shooting. Sloop said it was an officer from Butler Township who confronted the shooter on the roof. In a new state, Butler Township officials said their police were charged with traffic control, but responded quickly to reports of a suspicious person and confirmed one of their officers pulled himself up to the roof's edge but had to let go and fall. One official said they believe this confrontation ultimately threw off the shooter's plans. Claudia Gonzalez, NPR News.
President Biden is off the campaign trail. He has COVID. The White House says he's recuperating at his Delaware home with mild symptoms. Israel's parliament has adopted a resolution opposing the creation of a Palestinian state. As NPR's Daniel Estrin reports from Tel Aviv, the declaration comes as the U.S. sanctioned a former Israeli soldier for an extrajudicial killing of a Palestinian.
Israel's parliament, the Knesset, adopted a declaration, quote, firmly opposing a Palestinian state, saying it would pose an existential threat to Israel. The non-binding resolution passed 68-9. In response, the Palestinian Authority called on countries to recognize a state of Palestine. The vote comes before Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addresses a joint meeting of Congress next week. Both Democratic and Republican administrations have supported the idea of a Palestinian state alongside Israel. Also, the U.S. has imposed sanctions against a former Israeli soldier who killed an incapacitated Palestinian attacker 8 years ago and was imprisoned in Israel for several months. Daniel Estrin, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
You're listening to NPR.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations.
Must want a new candidate. Jared Moskowitz, representative.
Hey,
from
this is
Florida.
Canada.
Concerned that the president's circle, quite frankly, have kept him in a bubble. We're also not giving him the facts.
With divisions deepening, Biden is now in isolation
it's
with
not.
COVID and increasingly from some members of his own party. Ellen Morrow, CBC News,
Oh, yes.
Toronto.
This is
Police in
Canada.
Kenya have banned demonstrations in the heart of the capital, Nairobi. This directive follows weeks of anti-government
You're awake
protests.
now?
Police say they have evidence organized criminal gangs have infiltrated those demonstrations. At least 50 people have been killed in the protests against proposed tax hikes. People across the country began protesting nearly a month ago. They continued after Kenyan President William Ruto withdrew the legislation and fired almost all of his cabinet. Activists are still calling for Ruto's resignation. Student protesters in Bangladesh's capital are calling for a nationwide shutdown. The streets there are quiet this morning, but demonstrations against a government hiring policy for public sector jobs continue elsewhere in the country. More than 10 people have died this week in clashes with police. Freelance reporter Neha Punya has more.
Heavily armed paramilitary troops patrol the streets of Dhaka, and residents in the capital say it's nearly impossible to get anywhere.
Public transport has been closed. If we cannot move around freely, how can we continue our livelihood?
Students want an end to a quota system that gives a third of all government jobs to families of war veterans who fought for the country's independence in 1971. In other parts of the country, tens of thousands of students continue to hold large protests, often clashing with police and pro-government groups who are using tear gas shells to disperse the crowds.
This is our land. We have a right to express ourselves. What crime have we committed?
Mobile internet services have also been shut down across most of Bangladesh. Officials claim social media has been used to spread misinformation. The government has appealed for calm and says it is willing to talk with protesters. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina addressed the nation last night.
I condemn these incidents of violence. Many precious lives have been lost. Those who are taking part in the violence will be punished.
The Supreme Court will decide next month what happens to the controversial quota system. But Bangladeshi students say at a time when youth unemployment is very high, the decision needs to be made right away. Neha Punya for CBC News, New Delhi.
Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly's office says she will be visiting China tomorrow. It comes at the invitation of Joly's Chinese counterpart. A statement from Joly's office says the two ministers, will discuss China-Canada relations. They are also expected to discuss regional security issues and possible avenues for collaboration on what it calls common challenges. Beijing says it expects Joly to be in the country until Saturday. Airline passengers do whatever it takes to save a few dollars. Usually that means not checking bags. But so many people carrying on their luggage is creating congestion on flights and sometimes heated disputes. Sophia Harris has the story now of one couple who refused to check their carry-on bags.
One of that is a painkiller for my wife.
Poru Kamanen and his wife packed their carry-on bags with medication and valuable jewelry they didn't want to part with on their recent flight from Toronto to Vancouver. When they were about to board, Kumanen says a WestJet agent announced the plane had run out of carry-on space, so the couple had to check their bags. They refused.
I needed the medication on the plane. We did try to tell them there is valuables inside. Why this one? They were not willing to listen.
Instead, WestJet banned the couple from their round-trip flight.
I was so mad on that day.
In an email, WestJet said the couple was refused transport due to behavior exhibited while boarding, and that it's common to request that carry-on items are checked when overhead space is limited. The case highlights a growing problem due to check bag fees and fears of lost luggage. More passengers are traveling with carry-on.
It's getting chaos. It's chaotic.
Airline Airline analyst John Braddock says the best solution is to crack down on oversized carry-on.
Airlines really have to manage and control and enforce those regulations. It's the most brutal solution to the problem, but it works.
It's the right size.
Kumanen says their luggage met WestJet size limits. In response to a CBC inquiry, WestJet said it refunded the couple for their missed flight. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Brampton, Ontario.
And this is the most read story at cbcnews.ca. Sophia has more on carry-on bag issues on our main page. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime from cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
My name is Anthony Faber, and you're listening to Daybreak.
10 minutes past 8 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Ainsley McClellan in for Sean Henry. It is Thursday, 8th of July, and it is a little bit colder than it has been over the past couple of days in Montreal. We have a temperature around 19 degrees right now in Montreal, getting up to a high of 24, the humid index of 28 today. Mix of sun and cloud, just a few clouds tonight, and it's looking sunny as we head into the weekend as well. Temperatures up around 25, 27 this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And in this half hour, we are going to be talking about clean drinking water. The Federation of Quebec Municipalities noting that there are some municipalities in Quebec that have had boil
some problems on the road. A big accident on 15, large vehicles. So, what does that mean? I told her to, I've got her.
Well, actually, if we can find we can get her to find a different route, that'd be fine. But if not, then we just go through it.
She'll tell us if the route's bad, right?
I guess.
I suppose she'll interrupt and tell us. She usually starts talking as soon as I tell her to go. I like these road trips. But it's 8:30. Traffic has gotten heavier. We're still going 110. Kilometers an hour. So good morning, folks. Anybody that's there hasn't been there for a while. I hope you have a lovely day today. As Mary used to say, a sparkling day. She used to try very hard to only focus on the positive. She would shut me down when I would talk about the negative. It was good.
He wants to go to.
So I'm curious where this accident is. Maybe we should listen again.
So I won't tell you much. I might actually. I said I'll listen in.
Yeah, what you
I
do?
might just like
The way
That way 15
wide-eyed,
goes
like someone like maybe not the 555.
So it
What?
might be way up north.
Well, it's the Champlain Bridge on 15 North.
Oh, okay.
So it's right on our path.
Right, Champlain Bridge, yeah. I think the Champlain Bridge is a little bit north of the temple, I believe. But it'll feel the impact for sure. Is it on 15 or is it on the bridge?
I don't know. Let's listen again.
To Regional News Time now with Sean Lyons and Lita Polson on the commute.
And keep your sunglasses handy. Great forecast. Right now as we head over to the South Shore, you will find a stall just around the Nuns Island area on 15 South, but I'm concerned with the 15 North, where you start to slow at de la Vérendrye because of an accident. They're still attempting to remove just through the NDG tunnel onto Cary northbound. That's affecting your 20 and your in the eastbound direction. As you approach the Turcotte interchange, you will also be braking in that area. And Montreal side of the Mercier Bridge is backing up all the way down to the Clermont area, right up to the 20.
Maybe that's not affecting us.
This is
It might not be.
There's a 15 South, but also 15
Good
North.
morning, it is 8:30. I'm Sean Lyons with your CBC News from Montreal. I'm out here in Quebec calling on the province's health insurance board, the RAMQ, to expand its criteria for artificial limbs and appendages. That is because the RAMQ has denied coverage for a partial hand prosthesis, a decision upheld by a tribunal. The reason, the man would have needed to lose his entire hand to qualify. Chloe Rinaldi has a story.
On September 19, 2015, Samuel Vincent Couillard's life changed forever. He was a private airplane pilot, and as he stepped off the plane, he was struck by a moving propeller.
On a touché le sol, je suis sorti dehors, j'ai fermé la porte et je suis parti directement dans l'hélice.
His head and his legs were injured, and he lost part of his left hand. Only his thumb remains. Vincent Couillard now works as a videographer and was prescribed a myoelectric partial hand prosthesis. Experts said it would help him with simple tasks, but the device cost more than $64,000. And Quebec's health insurance board, the RAMQ, denied his claim.
Je pourrais avoir une main si, exemple, je m'étais fait couper sur le reste de la main.
He was told to be covered, he would have had to lose his whole hand. That decision was upheld by the province's administrative tribunal. In a statement, the RAMQ says it recognizes Vincent Couillard's particular situation, but there are no exceptions. Louis Bourassa speaks for the War Amps, a charity that represents amputees.
The product is not on the list. Honestly, it does not make any sense.
Vincent Couillard says he'd also like to see the Health Insurance Board expand its criteria. Chloe Rinaldi, CBC News, Montreal.
An unfortunate, even tragic reminder today of the ongoing recall of some popular plant-based beverages. Health Canada is reporting 2 fatalities now due to listeria infections linked to the recall of some Silk and Great Value products. And 12 confirmed illnesses caused by the outbreak, including 1 here in Quebec. The federal agency saying 9 people have been hospitalized and 2 are dead. For the full story and for a link to all the products affected by this recall, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Montreal. The head of a Montreal shelter says the latest efforts to take down homeless encampments in the city more proof that long-term solutions are needed. 2 encampments were dismantled yesterday in the city, one in the Plateau, the other in Rosemont-Patrie. The city of Montreal says it does not know how many camps it has dismantled so far this year. Library Mission President James Hughes says that while encampments are not a long-term solution, dismantling them can actually do a tremendous amount of harm. Says the city's got to think deeper.
We have to have a housing-focused policy that actually thinks about the opportunities we have to get to know the people in these camps, get to know them just like we know them in the facilities that we run at Oldbury and the other amazing organizations in the city run, and so that we can accompany them on the journey to a better place.
The city committee looking into homeless encampments is having a final meeting next week. Some dog owners still concerned and confused about the new rules about to come into effect for taking their furry friends over to the United States. Starting next month, several measures are going to be put in place at the border. Federal government, meanwhile, says it continues to work on getting some concessions from the U.S. and Willem reports.
Catherine Neal's border collie jumps through hoops, weaves through poles, and sprints through mini tunnels in agility competitions in the States. But now it's Neal who has to jump through hoops to get her dog Blink across the border. She says the rules imposed by the U.S. aren't being clearly communicated.
It's so badly thought out. It has a lot of people really stressed out.
Owners will have to prove their dogs are over 6 months old, have a microchip, a recent photo, and a rabies vaccination signed by a vet. Neal thinks the biggest hurdle will be getting that signature.
There's going to be so many people who need to do it.
She has a vet appointment next week, but says she can't find the forms. And when asked, several vet clinics in the Ottawa Valley said they didn't even know about the changes. Health Minister Mark Holland says he's concerned about the regulations.
Veterinarians have a lot of things that need to be done. This is something, frankly, that checks a box that doesn't need to be checked. It's fixing a problem that doesn't exist.
Cody Perry agrees. He trains hunting dogs and often takes them to New York.
What we have now worked, so if it's not broke, why would you fix it?
He's now hunting for the paperwork they'll need. Emma Weller, CBC News, Ottawa.
And finally, people on the West Island and Montreal are going to get their chance today to ask questions about the coming light rail system over a cup of coffee. REM's project managers have been holding a series of information sessions dubbed Les Cafés Rencontres in Laval and de Montagne, and today they'll be making a stop in Pointe Claire. Spokesperson Francis Navet says probably the most frequent questions they get are about noise. The work is ongoing to make sure the trains don't bother the neighbors as they pass. He points out the Griffintown were a number of mitigation measures, including grinding the tracks and dynamic absorbers, have reduced the noise there by up to 8 decibels, but he says there is not a one-size-fits-all solution.
It's important that we analyze properly the situation to put the right mitigation measure at the right place, because some of them might be totally insufficient. On Nuns Island, putting noise barriers might be.
Airport leg set sometime for 2027. If you have questions of your own, today's coffee meeting is going to be at the Doubletree by Hilton in Pointe Claire from 2 to 8 o'clock. And that was your CBC News. It's 8:36 out onto the road. Speaking of traffic and transit, here is Lena Olson.
And transit working very well for us. REM working well right into downtown. Also, if you're heading back to the Brossard area, unfortunately, Actually now in the Carignan area along the 10 westbound, a big accident. It is blocking the right-hand lane, but it is causing a slowdown of about 10 minutes so far. It is in the westbound direction as you head towards the Champlain Bridge. Once you're past Taschereau, though, things have opened up, and only to slow again around Neds Island where there's a stalled vehicle. And again, as you approach the Turcotte.
Use the right lane.
To the weather forecast now in Montreal. First, a mix of sun and cloud today. We're expecting a high around 24 degrees. A few clouds overnight. Winds becoming light as well with a low of 18 degrees. And in the Laurentians, a mix of sun and cloud there. There's a chance of showers late this morning into the afternoon. High of 21 degrees. Partly cloudy skies. Showers overnight and a low of 10.
Take the exit. Use the left lane.
Oh my gosh, this is scary. I am scared. I've never seen this before. Never.
That highway looked more like a river as record-breaking rains on Tuesday left.
In 2.3.
Solutions to soak up all these flash floods. An absorbing conversation in just a moment.
It's the heart of the community that is really putting things together. We work 7 days a week, non-stop. We want to see our town back.
After massive wildfires destroyed the town of Lahaina in Hawaii last year, locals are getting a helping hand from Mother Nature. Water has returned to Lahaina, a sign that the ancient and sacred wetland, which was drained dry by sugar plantations, is coming back. Lahaina's future in the past in 30 minutes. Also, she competed in the Summer and Winter Olympics. Now Felicia George is heading to the Paris Games as a spoken word poet. She'll explain why poetry and sport make great teammates. Plus, we've got another installment of the CBC podcast, Come by Chance. But first, Sponge Cities. I'm Duncan McHugh, sitting in for Matt Galloway, and this is The Current.
Use the left lane.
Oh my god, look.
Well, this is what Mom and I are stuck in, taking her to the hospital. And I have no gas in the car, so we're gonna run out of gas. Water right up to my...
Keep left.
Use the left lane to keep left to merge onto Autoroute 15 North toward Route 132
Those were Torontonians reacting to the record-breaking rainfall. Major roadways turned to rivers, forcing some drivers to escape their vehicles. Power was out for hundreds of thousands. Homes were flooded, including Drake's.
For about 21.
Scientists say climate change means we're going to see more extreme weather events like these floods, and cities need to adapt faster and better. In a moment, we'll talk about an idea called Sponge Cities, but first, I'm joined by Jason Thistlethwaite. He's a professor in the School of Environment, Enterprise, Development at the University of Waterloo. Hello, Jason.
Good morning.
Those citywide floods in Toronto on Tuesday, what went wrong?
Yeah, pretty incredible. I mean, today it's dawning on me that Drake may have done more for managing flood risk than my 15 years of research. So it's the climate change world is definitely new and unpredictable. But yeah, what really happened on Tuesday is I think it's important to think of a flood as a bit of a system. So you have water coming in down from the sky, and what we're generally seeing, this happens in Toronto frequently. It's happened, well, not that frequently, but 2013, 2018, 2005, is an intense and a downpour that effectively overwhelms the city's capacity to absorb it. Toronto has a lot of development, a lot of impervious surfaces, and so the water really only has one option of where it's supposed to go, and that is into the storm and sanitary sewage system. It gets highly concentrated down there, and it's going to find the lowest places it can find, which are generally speaking people's basements and eventually out through overwhelming wastewater systems into rivers and streams.
There was a bit of deja vu all over again, though, here, because Toronto had a similar, a bigger major rainstorm that caused flooding in 2013. What's been happening since then to prepare for these kinds of floods?
Well, the city has done, in my opinion, a good job prioritizing the issue. They have a basement flood reduction program. They have a wet weather master plan. And these all lay out a series of steps supply chain of the water. So it ranges things from doing things like encourage subsidies at the property level to try and encourage you from stopping water from coming off your roof and into the sewage system, to big things like building underground reservoirs and storage tanks, to of course the biggest project of course which is a giant bypass sewer system that's starting at the north of the city, a 10-kilometer bypass system starting at the north of the city that will run all the way to the south, with the objective of stopping all that rain that falls on Toronto. And everything falls from, when it falls, it goes from the north to the south, right? So anything north of the city falls to the south, disrupting that by collecting all the water in the north part of the city and bringing it to the south and treating it. So I do applaud the city of Toronto for knowing what it's supposed to do. The challenge, of course, is resourcing all of these things and doing it in as fast a way as possible, because that's clearly what's not been happening.
Resourcing is, of course, the issue. Who's going to pay for this? Are we going to start to see stormwater charges, taxes, things like that?
Right, well, we don't like the word tax when it comes to this. This is something that was created by Toronto City Council when it was first proposed. A lot of municipalities in the U.S. and Oregon, Canada, where I live right now, has a stormwater charge. And effectively, what it's designed to do is encourage property, but more so commercial landowners, to build more pervious surfaces. So right now, when you're building a mall, you're building a car dealership or whatever, you're going to build a lot of parking lot space. And all of that is what throws the water into the stormwater system, and it ends up in the situation like on Tuesday. Well, the more of that impervious surface to build, the higher your charge is likely to be. So it creates an incentive to effectively flood-proof properties, to try and store water on the property. The other thing it does is it creates a separate line item in the budget for the city, so that every year when the city goes to put together a package of stormwater management policies and projects, it gets exposed to budgetary politics. That isn't really good for long-term planning, and we need our stormwater infrastructure to be built now to the climate for 50 years from now. So having it exposed to that sort of politics isn't good. And so stormwater charge is really considered best practice among the municipalities that I spoke to.
I want to dig in, though, a little bit more to the costs here. I mean, the Insurance Bureau of Canada estimates cleanup from Tuesday's flooding in the GTA could cost more than $1 billion. This spring, the federal government said it's going to launch a national flood insurance program within a year to offer low-cost coverage to an estimated 1.5 million Canadian homeowners living in high-risk areas. What do you make of the government's plan?
Right, so yeah, this is definitely going to be a costly event. Flooding is Canada's most costly and common climate risk.
No.
And so every dollar we do spend, though, on mitigation that is helping prepare for these types of events, making our cities more resilient, earns anywhere to $6 to $11 in additional states like California and Florida, because the risk is simply too high. We're not yet that situation in Ontario, but certainly what you're going to see is if you have a flooded basement, you're going to finding coverage for that basement for sewer backup very difficult in the next few years. I think we need much more data and much more maps to be able to help fix this problem. Right now, you don't know if you're at risk of the type of flooding we saw yesterday in Toronto. We have riverine maps that you can see when a river floods, but when you have those downpours, that urban flooding, that really is just a secret that only insurers and governments know. I think we need to make that information public and help inform people about the decisions around insurance.
We're talking about Toronto, but I mean, of course, there was catastrophic flooding in Calgary in 2013, Abbotsford devastated by floods in 2021, just Nova Scotia just last week, a 13-year-old boy died in flash floods. Are there any cities right now in Canada that are getting it right?
Yeah, I think municipalities, for the most part, if you go speak to a municipal engineer or someone who works in a municipality, they'll tell you exactly where the risk areas are. They'll tell you exactly what type of infrastructure needs to be fixed. It's just a matter of resourcing. And what we found out a few weeks ago, of course, is that one of the big ways that this gets resources are through federal grant programs. So effectively, cities will spend months hiring consultants, paying for consultants, putting these grants together with the hope that they're going to get some funding from the federal government. Because you have to remember, municipalities don't, and it's very hard to get money out of the federal government to do this type of thing. So I think it's not just sort of a municipal problem. Cities, I think, are doing the best they can. They know what they have to do. They have plans in place. They just need resources to be able to execute on them.
Thanks for your analysis on this, Jason.
Appreciate it, Duncan. Good morning.
Jason Thistlethwaite is a professor in the School of Environment, Enterprise and Development at the University of Waterloo. Montreal was also hit with record-breaking rainfall last week, but some neighborhoods fared better than others. The city has built several sponge parks, green spaces that allow rainwater to pass through the ground naturally. Resident Jacques Nakuzi said the sponge park in his neighborhood made a difference.
They changed the geometry of the street and they made it in a way that water goes into the park. So before we used to see in our street like a river coming, you know, and the street is a little bit, there is like a slope in it, so it goes down. So, and we are lower than the park. So before you used to see rivers coming in the street. Today we don't see this. Of course, when it rains, you see a lot of rain, but you see much less than before.
Sponge parks are part of sponge cities, an approach urban planners are turning to more and more to protect against floods. Erica Geis is an independent environmental journalist and the author of Water Always Wins, Thriving in an Age of Drought and Deluge. Erica, hello.
Hi.
We're going to get to sponge cities in a sec, but when you see flooding like happened in southern Ontario this week, what goes through your mind?
Well, I mean, first, most cities have paved over or filled in their creeks and streams and wetlands. And so, you know, water has nowhere to go. Water has a memory. It wants to go to the places it did historically. And if we pave over everything and don't give it a place to go, it's still going to be there.
I like the title of your book, Water Always Wins. Let's talk about sponge cities. What exactly is a sponge city?
Yeah, it's the idea of making cities more permeable. So sponge cities is the Chinese term for it, which I really like. It's so evocative, you know, absorbing the water when it's heavy and releasing the water later when it's needed. Because a lot of places that flood also suffer scarcity because they push the water away as quickly as possible and then they don't have it later. But it goes by different names in other parts of the world, like the United States calls it low impact design. Europe tends to call it green infrastructure or natural infrastructure. In Australia, they call it water sensitive urban design. But it's all ways of making space for water again, because we've really dramatically altered the water cycle with our development.
Where'd the idea come from for sponge cities?
I think it's something that people who pay attention to water have been aware of the need to reintroduce space for water to flow on land. You know, humans have drained or filled as much as 87% of the world's wetlands. And on average, 75% of urban streams are buried. A lot of places have basements popping up in their creeks. You know, there was a great CBC online story in April that showed the map of Toronto with all of the rivers that were there historically. And looking at that, they call it historical ecology. It helps people to understand where their water is likely to go. And I think, you know, there are people in Toronto who have experiences of streams popping up in their basements when it rains, or, you know, on Shaw Street near the Christie Coots neighborhood, there were houses that were kind of famously out of whack, and it's because there's Garrison Creek running beneath them.
And that CBC Interactive of the Forgotten Rivers is just gorgeous. Listeners should go check it out. You went to China and met a fellow named that goes by the term Mr. Sponge City, Yu Kangji Young. Tell us about his involvement in this.
Yeah, Kang Jiang is a landscape architect. He studied at Harvard and went back to China. He grew up in the countryside during the agricultural period, and like a lot of people I met when researching my book, considering a what or a commodity, he thinks of it more as a who, a friend. And the idea is that if you can make friends with water, flooding doesn't have to be a disaster. And so in his various projects across China and elsewhere in the world, he's a very well-known consultant. He's looking for space to make water. So like restoring floodplains along rivers, for example, or restoring wetlands in places. And he calls historical ecology a security pattern, because if you identify where water is likely to want to go, and if you as a city can prioritize returning that space to water, you can really have an outsized impact on flooding.
One of his big projects is Yangtze River Park, just outside of Beijing. You went there. What did that look like? What did he do to that area?
Yeah, so that area was built up quite rapidly in the time just before I visited, and like a lot of urban streams that remain on the surface, it had been, the trees had been cut from the riverside, it had been straightened and channelized, and that creates fast water.
In 2 kilometers.
That we've disrupted by development. So that's floodplains, which exist to absorb floods, wetlands, meadows, and forests. And so what Kang Jiang's office Turnscape did in that site was to take some of the lateral space, because a river exists far from its banks, up to a mile from the banks in a big river. And they realized the places that was flooding were historical floodplains. And so in a 11-mile long creek, they returned just 1,600 feet to the creek. And they did this very interesting project, which I go into my book, that talks about like the stream's gut microbiome, which is really interesting to kind of help it be a functioning system. It's not just a water feature, it's a living system. And they haven't experienced flooding in that area since. And so basically slow water projects can be small. They can empower local communities to do something in their own areas with their neighbor, but they're also cumulative. And you think it's really a question of scale. Like you often hear people saying, these are nice, but they can't really fix the problem. They can't deal with 100 millimeters of rain in 4 hours. But Kang Jiang says it's a question of scale, and in fact, he's now advocating for a sponge planet. And if you think of the really dramatic extent to which we've interfered with the natural water cycle, 75% of land on Earth is degraded. You get a sense of why we need these small projects scattered across the landscape, and it's very much like how solar panels on everyone's roof can ultimately add up to a lot of electricity.
I'm kind of thinking of that Bruce Lee phrase, be the water.
Yeah, we need to make space for water and be friends with water, because we have this attitude in the dominant culture of trying to control
almost
it,
there.
but that's actually causing a lot of our problems.
So we've been driving for hours, and we're at Montreal. We're almost at the Montreal Temple. Please don't forget to thumbs up when you drop in and drop out. Anyway, thanks for being here and hanging out with us so we could have a nice, interesting time. I can't let you see the road from here because of the position of the camera where it's attached to the vent. The vent is good. It was on a different spot, and we were able to see better, but now not so. Got too hot in the sun. I'll show you the temple when we get there. The highlight. The highlight of the trip. I'm getting quite tired now. But can't get tired. I have to drive. Almost there. And we're early enough. I have time. I can go for a walk around the temple, limber up my body. I did mean to put my violin in the car so I could sit there and play my violin by the temple. That was going to be nice. But I forgot it. I was too busy trying to figure out where I'd put the keys.
Is this it? Yeah.
And why isn't she talking to us?
I don't know. Here's the entrance.
Da da dum. Da dum 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 dum. Dum da dum. Dum dum da dum. Dum da dum. Dum 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 dum. Dum da dum dum dum. Dum dum. Okay.
This
Just
for
want to see
driving.
the blue sky and your beautiful hair.
The Kansas City Railway.
Oops. So there is the temple. Temple de Montreal. Let's take you out of here, turn that off, turn these off, turn this off. But you have to be plugged in because it was going to die. I have to fix something here. This thing came off. So, our stuff is in the back seat. How are you doing? Did you get enough sleep?
I'm okay. I'm seem to be okay.
This is a leftover half of a Arby's, if you want.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
But be careful not to make it. It's kind of messy, I think.
Oh yeah, it's a bit messy. Okay, we'll leave it in the wrap.
Okay then.
Oh my gosh.
Want to make the angels cry? What do you mean make the angels cry? Why would the angels cry? Gonna be good. Okay, so we've only got 11%. So let's go and have a little look-see. I'll turn you around so you can see the temple. And it says on it, House of the Lord, holiness to the Lord, the house of the Lord. All right, let me see if I can walk here. I'll show you the I'll show you the flowers. You aren't going to be able to see for very long. So I think I'm gonna turn around and end this video. Thanks for coming along, listening to Canadian news and all the things we talked about on our trip. And for the prayer, let's have a little prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for blessing us as we drove, that we could be safe. Thank you for blessing us with this opportunity to be worthy of attending the temple and to be able to be here on this day and not have to babysit. Thank you for Scarlett watching over the kids. We're grateful to Thee for our safety, our pleasant experience as we drove, and that we didn't have an accident or difficulty or car trouble or problems with animals on the road. And we ask that Thou will keep us awake during the temple sessions, that we'll be able to feel the presence of others with us, and that we will be strengthened, that we'll deal better with the things that go on in our lives, and that we will have peace, and that we will be able to improve ourselves and find ways to serve Thee better. And bless us that we'll be aware of the promptings that we receive. These things we pray in the name of Jesus Christ, our beloved Savior. Amen. All right then. Bye-bye. Enjoy the day.